Welcome back. Joining us on the line now is Dr. Janet Erastus, who is the Chief Veterinarian from the Ministry of Agriculture, to talk to us about the NamLITS campaign. Dr. Erastus, good evening and thank you for joining us. Dr. Erastus, good evening. Dr. Erastus, good evening. Are you there? Dr. Erastus, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
How are you doing this evening?
I'm well, and yourself?
Good, thank you. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Perhaps you can start by briefly telling us, what necessitated the Ministry and Meat Board of Namibia to commence a campaign of this nature?
All right. Basically, so the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform is responsible for the administration of the Namibian Livestock Identification and Traceability System, which is NamLITS for short. This system is used for basically collecting and capturing all livestock-related information that enables a farmer to move their animals from one farm to another or from one area to another, provided it's within the recognized FMD disease zones within Namibia. So just like any other system, it's obviously audited on an annual basis or ever so often. So our system is audited by our trading partners, which are the countries that we export to, such as the EU, the USA, as well as China, just to name a few, and some of our external stakeholders. So from our last audit, we actually realized that we have quite a number of unused stock brands on our national database, which is NamLITS. So together with one of our critical stakeholders, which is the Meat Board of Namibia, which does administer the stock brand system on behalf of the ministry, we then decided to come up with this campaign, not only to address the issue at hand, but also just provide information on the importance of updating one's stock brand information, as well as other relevant issues that pertain to livestock identification as well as traceability, and including stock brands actually as well during this campaign.
I understand that the first leg of the campaign was done in the Zambezi region. What lessons has the ministry learned in terms of preparedness and meeting farmers' expectations? Dr. Erastus, can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
I was saying that I understand the first leg of the campaign was done in the Zambezi region, and just talk to us about the lesson learned in terms of preparedness and meeting farmers' expectations.
Well, of course, when you're engaging with a campaign, obviously from the onset there are quite a number of lessons that are learned with the kickoff, and I think some of those lessons we have taken note and have implemented, just going forward with the remaining regions, of course. But one thing to take note of is the need for face-to-face engagement. Farmers want to see the officials from the ministries that are actually communicating all of these requirements that they need to comply with. So we are definitely looking at ways to have these engagements with the farmers on the ground, with, of course, officials from our ministry at different levels of engagement, so that we are able to just come up with coordinated approaches when it comes to addressing some of the challenges that farmers are going through. So we have recognized that farmers are going through quite a number of challenges, and with that we are hoping to come up with means to just address some of these issues and just fast-track the resolutions to some of the challenges that they are facing in a more efficient and effective way.
Tell us briefly about what your program for this week entails and what regions you'll be in.
All right. Currently, we are actually at the Ngodiva Annual Trade Fair. We have a small team that's made up of officials from the Directorate of Veterinary Services, which is actually the competent authority that's responsible for livestock health in the country within the Ministry of Agriculture, as well as officials from the Meat Board, which are actually assisting farmers, as well as offering an array of services which range from farmers wanting to register for new stock brands, those wanting to apply for a transfer of a stock brand, duplicates, as well as also farmers that wish to update their livestock-related information on NamLITS. So we do have a small team that's attending to farmers with all their queries. However, the team that's designated for the campaign has been at the trade fair only for 2 days, so starting from yesterday and today, which will be the last day, due to our commitments on our we do have to visit other constituencies within the region that have been identified by local leadership as well as our colleagues that are on the ground that need this type of service, that will need this type of information. So, however, we do have officials from the competent authority, which is the Directorate of Veterinary Services, that will be here till the end of trade fair. So they will be able to assist farmers with whatever queries they might have that are related to their livestock.
And what is expected from farmers when they show up at the different sites to verify the information on the NamLITS system?
Okay, so we do have a form. This form was developed by the Meat Board as well as the Directorate of Veterinary Services. So the information that's captured on this form will actually be used to update the individual farmers' stock brand related information as well as herd information. So accompanied by this form will be a certified copy of the livestock owner's ID, either a stock brand card or certificate. We do only accept certified copies. However, we do recognize that some of these areas that we'll be visiting are quite remote and they might not have access to this facility. So we will be providing some of these facilities in these regions. So all that's required, especially when we are doing our regional visits, is for farmers to just bring original IDs as well as a stock brand card or certificate, and they'll be able to fill out the form at the station. But they can do this at any state veterinary office in their area or the Meat Board Meat office in Windhoek.
Dr. Erastus, thank you for your time this evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Have a good evening.